Welcome into Texans Today, everybody. I'm your host, Jeremy Chuggs, and on today's program, I'm taking questions from my live audience. I go live every Wednesday, 3:30 Central Time, and all these questions are coming from December 3rd, 2025. And if you want more mailbags, if you want to be featured on a future mailbag, if you want to, maybe do some non-live mailbags as well, hit that like button down below, hit that thumbs up icon, and we will try to do some more mailbags, and I'll try to answer as many questions as I can. First up, BW, Blue Sky. Will we see Tank Dell this season? Now, from people that I talked to close to the organization, close to the team, around NRG, even going back 2 or 3 months ago, a lot of you would be very pumped if you knew what Tank Dell was doing behind the scenes in terms of, working out, his ability, running this, that, or the other, right? I think there's an opportunity. And, everybody said it would take at least a year. Well, he got injured in the end of December in 2024. So it's coming up on a year at the end of this month. It's up in the air because do the Texans need him back? I don't necessarily think so. I think the wide receiver room is in a decent spot. Nico Collins has been awesome. You also have the rookies, Jayden Higgins, Jalen Knoll. They've been really good. Xavier Hutchinson, I thought, has kind of stepped up this year as well. Christian Kirk, a decent veteran option. I know Tank Dell wants to play more than anything. Tank Dell is at practices. He's catching balls on the sidelines, and he wants to be back. But the only thing is, Tank Dell, the best part of his game was his short area quickness and his, agility. And that is the last thing that comes back with these types of injuries, is that quick air, short area quickness, your mobility, your ability to, start and stop. That's towards the end of the recovery. So, yes, he might be, able to run, able to do all these things, but will he be in game shape? That's another question. So I want to make sure he's 100%. I know he wants to play more than anything this season, so we'll have to see whether or not they activate him towards the end of the season. But, fingers crossed. I hope we see 3 out there, but I would say right now it's probably 60-40, 60% that he's not playing, 40% that he will. And that's me being probably a biased Texans fan in that. So you can probably say it's probably more 70-30. But thank you for the question, BW. Young Costa, Texans getting the dub without a doubt. Is this the best defensive unit in franchise history? I mean, I'd be hard-pressed to go against it. We actually have a graphic to show that the Texans' defense this year has allowed the least points by a decent margin out of any other NFL team. 12 points ahead of the LA Rams. So, yeah, the Texans' defense is doing very well this season. And, you look at J.J. Watt, best player to ever play for the Houston Texans, bar none. I still think it's J.J. Watt, and it's not close at this moment who the best player in franchise history is. But, man, if he just keeps it up and gets better and better and better, I think we will have Will Anderson Jr. in that same sentence with J.J. Watt when it's all said and done. He is that good and has the potential to be that good. You add on Danielle Hunter at the other edge spot. Defensive tackle room is deep. The linebacking room has a lot of talent, and you have the best cornerback duo in the NFL with Kamari Lasser and Derek Stingley. I would argue that this is the best defense in Texans franchise history. That's saying a lot because nowadays it's much harder to play defense, right? A lot more DPI calls, a lot more holding calls. You can't hit the quarterback. But this defense is still finding a way to be elite in the year 2025. Next question up from Loki, #Texans. Could the Texans sign Justin Simmons? I would like them to make a move like this. My producer, Jack, was actually just telling me, because a lot of people were asking about Darius Slay, that he actually just signed with the Bills. He got claimed off of waivers by the Buffalo Bills. I would want this, right? To sign a guy like a Justin Simmons. Maybe y'all saw my video earlier this week with talking about Tyrann Mathieu, the Honey Badger. Signing a guy like that would be electric. I just don't know if the Texans pull the trigger on any big-name free agent or big signing going into the playoffs. It's just not D'Amico Ryans, Nick Casario's MO. Like, adding guys in season, they don't really do that, right? They don't make a lot of big trades. They don't make a lot of splash trades. They don't make a lot of, in-season acquisitions. They kind of go into the year and go, this is our unit. This is who we're rolling with. And besides that, it's a lot of practice squad signings, elevating guys from the practice squad here and there. They have Jalen Mills. They have Kayvon Wallace on their practice squad, and I imagine that both those guys, if not at least one of those guys, gets activated this Sunday up against Kansas City. I don't think they do it. Well, I mean, what do you say? Good job on the question, Producer Jack. Will the Texans make a big signing before the end of this year? Give me a yes, give me a no down in the comment section. Let me know your thoughts down below while you wait on this YouTube ad. Like I said, I don't see the Texans doing it. I would be typing my no because as much as we all are like, how much of a no-brainer is it to add a guy like Justin Simmons, a multi-time all-pro safety, to this Texans defense that's already legit? I mean, I think it would be a slam dunk, a home run, whatever other sports analogy you want to throw in there. I just don't see the Texans and D'Amico Ryans doing it. Plus, like I said, D'Amico said earlier this week, we're going to keep things in-house. We like who we have. We like the guys that we have on our roster and on our practice squad. That's just how they roll. Next question up, coming in from Daniels Christopher. Do you think we need Joe more than Tank? Talking about Joe Mixon more than Tank Dell. And I would say yes. I would say the Texans do need Joe Mixon more than Tank Dell. Nothing against Woody Marks and Nick Chubb. Both those guys have played well this season. And I also think we have the graphic for them and how they've played. I thought they played well. Nothing against Woody Marks. Nothing against Nick Chubb. Because, I mean, combined, they're close to 1,000 yards on the ground, right? But Joe Mixon, his ability last year to make something out of nothing and make splash plays was elite. He was next level. I would say Joe Mixon easily was a top 10 running back last year in the National Football League. Woody Marks and Nick Chubb are not that yet. Woody Marks is having a great rookie season. I loved his tenacity and how he played up against the Colts, but he's just not there. So if you could add somebody like a Joe Mixon to the backfield and have him, Woody Marks be the change of pace back and Nick Chubb whenever you need a bruiser, I think that would be much more beneficial to this Texans offense than Tank Dell. Nothing against Tank Dell. I think he's awesome. I think, his connection with C.J. Stroud, there is something to be said with their continuity and how they play together. But right now, I would definitely say Joe Mixon would help this Texans offense more than Tank Dell if both were able to return. I have more questions coming up in just a moment, but couldn't do today's show if it wasn't for our amazing sponsor, Prize Picks. Guys, it is the holiday season, the best time of the year for sports, bowl games, basketball matchups, and playoff pushes, and it's all happening at once. While you and I are out here making decisions every day, what should we eat? What gifts should I buy? What games should I watch? There's one place where it feels good to be right, and that is over at Prize Picks. Is your fantasy already over? My team is absolutely cooked, but with Prize Picks, I don't have to wait until next year's draft. Prize Picks lets you play fantasy football every week. Pick your favorite players and win when they hit their projections every week. No draft required. And you're wondering, Jeremy, what can you show me what you're running with? What lineup are you using? Well, this is what I got for this weekend, and I'm also using a new feature that Prize Picks has called their Stacks feature, which means you can choose one player. In my case, I'm choosing Jayden Higgins, and you can do up to 3 projections. I only have 2 with Jayden Higgins. I'm going more on the receiving yards and more on the rushing/receiving touchdowns. I also have less on the Patrick Mahomes pass yards, and I'm going more on the Will Anderson Jr. sacks. You can use my lineup. You can also do a power play or a flex play because how you play with Prize Picks, it's up to you. If you want flexibility, choose that flex play where you can get paid even if one of your picks misses. And if you want the biggest payouts, you can go for that power play. No matter how you play, Prize Picks is a great way to put your takes to the test. So get started today. Download the Prize Picks app. Use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. All that information will be down in the comment section and description of today's show. Next up, BW Blue Sky. Could you imagine getting Mixon and Dell back for a playoff push? Chills. BW Blue Sky. I don't think that will happen. I don't know if we get either of them back, but it would be electric if it did. Next up, Melinda Allgood. Let's go Texans. Beat the Chiefs. Higgins needs a big game. And Melinda, I told you on the live show, I think you would like my Prize Picks lineup because I feel the same way. I know that they're going to put Trent McDuffie. They're going to try to keep him on Nico Collins. That's their best cover corner going up against our best receiver in Nico Collins. What does that mean? That means the other guys need to be able to get open in one-on-one coverage, a la Jayden Higgins. He had a really good game up against the Indianapolis Colts this past week. I agree. I think Jayden Higgins needs to step up big time, make some big plays for this offense, help C.J. Stroud out. If he has a big game, I think that spells good stuff for this Texans offense up against the Kansas City Chiefs. Thank you for the super chat, Melinda. Next up, Mark Morales, another super chat on today's program. Hashtag Texans. With rookie Woody Marks' injury, how much do you think our running game will be utilized? We need our running game for big plays downfield. Do you think he will be good to go? Well, good news for you, Mark, because D'Amico Ryans talked about Woody Marks, Will Anderson Jr., and Trent Brown, and basically said it was just a rest day for those guys. They are dealing with injuries here and there, but he said if all goes to plan, those guys should be, quote, good to go. So, great news for us Texans fans. I think Woody Marks will be a big part of this Texans offense going up against Kansas City. He's a dog. He's an absolute dog. He had a quote right after that Colts game that was like, oh, me go out of the game? No, I'm not leaving the game. He went full Wolf of Wall Street and said, I'm not effing leaving. I'm not doing it. I mean, he's got the heart of a warrior. And I think, I think if he's 50, 60% able to go, he's going to give 110% up against Kansas City. I know that is true. Next up, Stingley NFL. Who would you want to face in the playoffs? Playoffs. Well, first off, I don't want to get too ahead of ourselves because can we go to the playoff graphic actually really quick? Because I love the question, but we got to get there first, guys. We're not in. Look at the playoff graphic. Every team that has their logo on screen currently has a playoff spot. Notice you do not see a Texans logo up on screen. They are the first team out at 7-5. Now, they have a great opportunity ahead of them to make the playoffs, but I would say we got to get there first. But if you're asking me, out of all the division leaders right now, of course, I would say the Jacksonville Jags would be the number one team I would want to play in the playoffs. I mean, I think the Texans could have won both those games up against Jacksonville. I mean, one, they had a crazy come from behind win with Davis Mills. I'm looking at my live chat right now. A lot of people are saying the Broncos. I don't know if I would want to play the Broncos. I don't know if I would want to play the Patriots per se. But I don't know. We'll have to see. Also, you have the Ravens, which I think, even though they have the worst record, Producer Jack, I think that's the team I would least amount want to play in the AFC. But let me know. Besides the Texans, because obviously we're a Texans channel, so I think it would be cheating if everybody would just put the Texans. Who's the team to beat in the AFC? Who do you think is the best team in the AFC right now besides the Houston Texans? Let me know down below in the comments section, because my live chat was all saying, even Producer Jack was kind of saying the Broncos look to be frauds. I think it might be New England. But like I said, New England, I think they're the team to beat. But the team that nobody wants to face, my opinion, is the Baltimore Ravens and Lamar Jackson. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Next up, Martin5050, hashtag Texans. One factor I keep seeing for this game is that it's going to be cold. I never understood why that would even be a factor. Both teams have to play in it, and CJ played in Ohio. Well, if you ask my boss and Producer Jack, who are both Michigan fans, they would call him Coldridge Stroud. It was been the joke that C.J. Stroud can't play in the cold. He was, went to high school in California and, the Cali boy, this, that, and the other. You know what? I mean, it does affect it a little bit, but more than it being cold is the weather. That is the big factor, Martin, because if it's cold, that's one thing. You can have the heaters, you can have the jackets, all that on the sideline. But cold plus rain or cold with the snow, any sort of participation where it gets slick out there, that's where it starts to get a little dicey, Martin. So I would say if it's cold, I'm okay with it. It's going to be cold. It's December. It's the precipitation. Will there be any rain? Will there be any snow? That is the big question up against Kansas City. Good question, Martin. Next up, Grayson Tefel, 5129. Hashtag Texans, have we found our offensive line for the playoff push? I think we have. I think we have found our offensive line for this playoff push. And I believe it's updated, the depth chart, if we want to go to it. It's been a mix and match, and, it's crazy. The Texans starting left guard, at the only thing that's wrong with it is Laken Tomlinson underneath. Yeah, that's the only thing is our starting left guard at the beginning of the year, Laken Tomlinson, just got waived this week. So this is the offensive line that they're running with for the remainder of the year. Rookie Ariante Ursary, which looks to have been the right pick. He has been really good this season for your Houston Texans. They went ahead and moved Titus Howard into left guard, Jake Andrews the center, Ed Ingram right guard, Trent Brown right tackle, and then Blake Fisher. They've been using a ton in those 6 offensive line sets. But this is the lineup that they've gone with. And I thought they've been pretty good. Are they top 10, top 15? No, they're not there yet. I think they still have a little bit of ways to go. But are they serviceable? Yes. I think they've played a little bit better. You could use a little bit more push up front. I would definitely like to look at a guy like Tyler Linderbaum in NFL free agency this offseason because I think you could upgrade that center spot and help you out a little bit. Ed Ingram has been a welcome addition at right guard. I thought he's, played really good. He's had his ups and downs in pass protection, but in run blocking, he's been good. Trent Brown, he's definitely not the, future answer at right tackle. I don't know if Blake Fisher is, but, he's played well. And then, like I said, the rookie Ariante Ursary has really impressed. So the Texans, they have their offensive line moving forward, and that's who they're going to run with throughout the rest of the season. Shaggy, if we make the playoffs, do we keep Nick Caley? Yes. We keep Nick Caley if they make the playoffs, simply because I think, he's improved. And I also think you don't want to do that to C.J. Stroud if you don't have to. 3 different OCs in 3 different years. Because it's hard enough to learn one offense. It's harder enough to learn 2 offenses, but 3 offenses and 3 off seasons, I think that's asking a lot out of your quarterback and out of your team, frankly. So if Nick Caley and this team, keep on what they're doing, keep on playing well, and improve week after week, I definitely think he'll keep his job going into next year. And depending on how far they go in the playoffs as well, will depend, if they make the playoffs, how far they go. All that will be a factor. But it is a good question because depending on who gets fired and what movement we have in the coaching carousel this offseason, Dolphins head coach Mike McDaniel, he'll be a hot name if he gets fired from the Dolphins. He has a ton of connections with the Houston Texans. It's a very intriguing name. Other names that can be considered, around the NFL. Also, I don't know why I'm blanking on his name right now. Kevin Stefanski with the Cleveland Browns. He has been mentioned to possibly be wanting out of Cleveland / don't know how he's going to do. O'Connell with the Vikings as well. So there's a lot of names that have been, thrown out there of coaches that could be moved on from, fired this offseason. I mean, Chip Kelly was fired with the Raiders, and I, for one, wanted him with the Texans before the season. It looks like, Texans dodged a bullet on that one. But I think if they do make the playoffs, though, Nick Caley will be the OC going into next season. That's all I have for you on today's show, folks. If you made it to the end of this mailbag, you're an absolute real one. Go down and spam those H's. I appreciate each and every single one of y'all for clicking into today's show, watching today's mailbag. And make sure you stay tuned in this weekend. Sunday Night Football. I'll be going live 6:30 Central Time. Texans up against the Chiefs. You will not want to miss it.